Imagine a night when the stars simply stopped shining, a night that stole every flicker of light from the world. You might be wondering, what would happen if our nights were forever swallowed by darkness? Today, we embark on a journey into a world where everything we once took for granted has become something entirely new. Every person has faced darkness at some point, but this darkness is different. It is not merely the absence of light. It is a world paused, a reality where every sparkle we relied upon has vanished. Picture yourself standing in your backyard under the night sky, and suddenly the moon hides its face and the stars, as if the entire heavens have withdrawn their glow. And then you feel it, a silence unlike any you have ever heard, only the soft rhythm of your heartbeat and the gentle whisper of the night breeze. On this journey, we will explore how the world responds, how humans and animals alike attempt to adapt, and what hidden truths might emerge in the midst of this profound darkness. This is not merely a story of imagination. It is a reflective voyage, one that will compel you to think, and perhaps to see light in a way you never have before. Without light, we realize just how dependent we are, how every small fragment of our lives changes when illumination disappears. So close your eyes slowly and prepare yourself for a journey where the stars have forgotten to shine. And we will discover what truly unfolds in a world without light, from the silent cities to the sleeping oceans, from the hidden whispers of creatures that navigate by night to the frantic efforts of humans to understand and adapt. This journey will immerse you in a reality that is both unsettling and awe-inspiring. It is a world of uncertainty, a world where every shadow hides a story, and every silence carries a secret waiting to be discovered. Let us begin not as mere observers, but as participants in a universe momentarily paused, a universe learning to exist without the guiding sparkle of the stars. And as we step quietly into this new night, allow yourself to feel the weight of the darkness, the hush of the unseen, and the anticipation of every revelation yet to come. Welcome to the night where the stars forgot to shine, setting the scene. The world we knew had always relied on light. It was not just the sun that guided our days, nor the moon that watched over our nights. Every flicker, every glow, every shimmer played a part in the rhythm of life. Children laughed beneath the golden sun, birds danced in beams of morning light, and even the stars, distant and faint, whispered their presence in the darkness. Life had a subtle cadence, a harmony built on illumination, both natural and artificial. Street lamps glowed gently as twilight fell. Windows reflected warmth and life, and the faint twinkle of stars reminded us of the vastness beyond our reach. But then the impossible happened. One evening, as people went about their usual routines, the sky offered no farewell. No hues of orange, no soft purple gradient, no faint glimmer of twilight lingered. The sun seemed to sink quietly, as if hesitant, only to vanish completely behind a curtain of absolute black. And when night arrived, the stars, they did not return. Not a single one. The familiar patterns of constellations, the gentle map of navigation that guided sailors and dreamers alike, had been swallowed. It was as if the universe had pressed pause on its celestial display. In the cities, the absence of light was immediately palpable. Streetlights flickered and failed, as though reflecting the anxiety of the world itself. Windows became mirrors of darkness, revealing only the faintest silhouettes of people peering out, trying to find solace in the familiar glows that had vanished. Car headlights cut through the emptiness in fragmented beams, yet they felt insufficient, fragile against the enormous void above. Human voices became slightly hesitant, hushed even, as if the darkness demanded respect, or perhaps demanded silence. In quiet corners, pets and wild animals alike reacted with uncertainty, their nocturnal instincts challenged by the unfamiliar pitch of a world without starlight. Dogs hesitated at doorways, cats prowled with more cautious steps, and birds that typically rested under the guidance of moonlight stayed silent, their natural cycles interrupted. Even in rural landscapes, the effect was no less profound. Rolling hills that normally absorbed the silver glow of the moon now disappeared into shadows. Forests, normally alive with the soft rustling of nocturnal life, fell into a heavier quiet. Streams and rivers, which had reflected the moon and stars like long, winding mirrors, now appeared black and endless. Travelers found themselves disoriented, unable to gauge distance or direction, and even the seasoned astronomers, accustomed to charting the skies, could not locate familiar points of reference. There was a dissonance between memory and reality, as if the universe itself had forgotten its own map. In homes, the psychological effect began almost immediately. People felt a subtle anxiety, a creeping unease that clung to the edges of their thoughts. Children, used to tracing the constellations before bedtime, looked up in confusion, whispering questions their parents could not answer. Lovers who often walked hand in hand beneath moonlit streets now paused, uncertain if the path would continue ahead. Even adults, who prided themselves on their logic and rationality, felt a twinge of fear, recognizing that the world's rhythm had shifted. There was a shared, silent acknowledgement across cities, towns, and villages. Something fundamental had changed. Yet, even in this profound disruption, life persisted. Humans turned to artificial means to replicate what the stars had once provided. Candles were lit, fires stoked, and lamps installed, but they seemed almost absurdly small against the enormity of the darkness. Communities gathered in squares and homes to share warmth and conversation, their voices bridging the silent void above. Some turned to old stories, myths about nights without light, while others documented meticulously, hoping that observation could unravel what had happened. And yet, despite every effort, the sky remained empty, a canvas of black that refused to yield. At the edges of civilization, where fewer lights had shone to begin with, the darkness was complete. Villagers relying on natural cycles found themselves untethered from their routines. Animals wandered unpredictably. Crops were left in uncertainty. And even the most pragmatic observers felt the gravity of a night that refused to end. The planet seemed to have entered a liminal space, balanced between memory and reality, between the life it knew and the unknown it now faced. This was not a world frozen in time, but a world fundamentally altered. Every shadow stretched differently. Every sound carried weight it had not borne before, and the concept of safety itself shifted. Darkness was no longer a companion for rest. It was an enigmatic force, demanding attention, evoking reflection, and silently challenging humanity to reconsider everything that had once been certain. And so, we begin our journey in this transformed world, a world where stars have forgotten to shine, yet life struggles, adapts, and persists. The absence of light has become a mirror, reflecting both our vulnerabilities and our resilience. In these first moments of darkness, as the planet inhales the stillness of an unlit night, we prepare to explore how existence continues, how hope, curiosity, and determination persist in the shadow of a sky that no longer guides us. The world we once knew, bright and predictable, is gone. Yet, within this void lies the potential for discovery, for understanding, and for a profound reconnection with what it truly means to exist. In the silence of the blackened skies, our story begins. And the night, endless as it may seem, has only just revealed its first secret. The first night without stars, the first night without stars arrived like a silent thief, unnoticed by many, until its presence became undeniable. At sunset, the horizon offered no farewell hues of orange, pink, or purple. The last glow of daylight seemed to vanish without ceremony, leaving a velvet darkness that pressed gently, yet insistently, against every surface. Those who stepped outside felt it immediately. A world stripped of its celestial companions, familiar and reassuring, now replaced by an enveloping void. The sky above, once a map of constellations and cosmic rhythm, was now an unbroken sheet of black, unyielding and absolute. In cities, the initial response was one of disbelief. People paused mid-step, mid-conversation, mid-breath, as if their senses had betrayed them. Streetlights flickered uncertainly, struggling against the oppressive shadow above. Some failed entirely, leaving intersections and sidewalks in near-complete darkness. Windows reflected nothing but the silhouettes of anxious residents, their faces pressed against glass in search of reassurance they could not find. Vehicles slowed, headlights barely slicing through the black, their beams fragile and insufficient. Even the most mundane actions, walking the dog, returning home from work, checking on neighbors, took on a new gravity. Every step felt weighted, every movement hesitant, as if the absence of stars had subtly rewired the rhythm of the night. In parks and suburban gardens, the absence of celestial light transformed familiar spaces into alien landscapes. Trees, usually rendered magical by moonlight, now merged into an indistinct mass of shadows. Flowers, which relied on the reflective glimmer of evening light to signal their nocturnal cycles, remained closed and quiet. Water in fountains and ponds appeared as dark mirrors, reflecting nothing but the void above. Birds that typically roosted under the guidance of the stars remained still and uneasy, occasionally shifting in confusion. Even the wind, normally a companion to nighttime stillness, seemed to whisper differently, its sounds amplified by the uncanny silence. In rural regions, where artificial light was scarce, the darkness carried an almost tactile quality. Villages that relied on the cycles of sun and stars for daily routines were now untethered, caught between instinct and uncertainty. Livestock hesitated at fences and doorways, unsure of the proper rhythm of feeding or rest. Farmers paused in their tasks, their eyes scanning the horizon in vain. Rivers and streams, usually brightened by starlight, now swallowed moonless reflections, leaving only a dense blackness that distorted perception. Paths that had been memorized through generations became unreliable, as if the land itself had shifted. Inside homes, a quiet anxiety took root. Families gathered in living rooms, exchanging whispers and questions without expecting definitive answers. Children, accustomed to bedtime stories under soft nightlight and glimmering stars, felt the absence keenly. Parents tried to explain, their voices gentle yet tense, admitting the uncertainty while attempting to soothe. Yet no amount of words could replicate the steadying comfort of a sky filled with stars. Even adults, grounded in logic and routine, discovered that the lack of celestial markers eroded a subtle sense of security. Sleep became difficult, dreams unsettled, and the mind wandered in search of patterns that were no longer visible. The first night stretched slowly, each hour elongating under the oppressive weight of darkness. Time, which had always been measured by the movement of celestial bodies, now felt suspended. The usual reference points, the moon's gentle rise, the predictable rotation of constellations were gone. Clocks, watches, and even the rhythm of breathing became arbitrary markers in a night that had no natural guidance. People spoke softly to one another, not only out of respect for neighbors, but also as a reflexive acknowledgement of the immense emptiness surrounding them. Conversations included long pauses, reflective moments, and thoughtful silences, mirroring the stillness of the sky itself. Animals adapted in unexpected ways. Nocturnal creatures, once guided by starlight and moon phases, hesitated in their hunts and movements. Owls remained perched longer than usual, their eyes scanning the black void for cues. Wolves, foxes, and other predators explored differently, their instincts challenged but alive, learning to navigate a temporarily altered world. Even insects, whose tiny luminescent signals played a role in mating and survival, behaved erratically, illuminating small pockets of space that now seemed enormous against the backdrop of absolute darkness. Psychologically, humans were profoundly affected. The lack of visual reference disrupted internal rhythms, evoking unease that transcended age or experience. People reported an odd sense of weight in their limbs, as though the body had registered the sky's absence as a tangible force. Some felt waves of nostalgia for nights long past, remembering starlit evenings with longing. Others experienced a quiet thrill, curiosity tinged with fear, as if the universe had opened a secret window into an unknown reality. Conversations frequently returned to the question of permanence. Was this a temporary phenomenon, or had the world irrevocably shifted? Yet, despite fear and uncertainty, the night also revealed resilience and ingenuity. Communities lit candles, lanterns, and small fires, creating soft islands of light and warmth in the shadowed streets. Humans instinctively sought connection, holding conversations, sharing meals, and recounting stories to maintain a sense of continuity. Children played quietly under these artificial lights, their laughter a fragile counterpoint to the void above. Even in darkness, patterns of care, cooperation, and adaptation persisted, suggesting that life finds a way to navigate uncertainty. Astronomers and scientists, observing the phenomenon, were both captivated and perplexed. Telescopes yielded nothing. Instruments recorded anomalies, but provided no conclusive explanation. Yet the night became a laboratory in itself, a stage for discovery, reflection, and anticipation. The absence of stars forced humanity to rethink reliance on natural markers, to recalibrate expectations, and to consider the fragility of perceived constants. By the early hours of the first night, a tentative rhythm emerged. Humans adapted, cautiously exploring, measuring, observing, and waiting. The darkness, though unsettling, became a canvas for reflection, highlighting both vulnerability and adaptability. Families, neighbors, and even strangers found solace in shared experiences, their presence a subtle but profound illumination in a world otherwise emptied of celestial light. The first night without stars was not merely the absence of illumination, it was a transformation of perception, a test of resilience, and a profound reminder of humanity's interdependence with the cosmos. Every shadow, every silence, every pause became a teacher, revealing patterns of behavior, instinct, and thought that would shape the nights to come. It was an introduction to a reality where light was no longer guaranteed, and where every heartbeat, every breath, every whispered word carried amplified significance. By the time dawn approached, though the sky offered no hint of celestial guidance, humans had survived, adapted, and reflected. The night had been long, unsettling, and transformative, and as the world paused, suspended in the quiet mystery of unlit skies, a single truth became evident. Darkness could challenge, frighten, and humble humanity, but it could also reveal resilience, ingenuity, and the profound capacity for hope, scientific exploration. As the first night without stars unfolded, scientists across the globe awoke to a reality they had never imagined. Observatories, research stations, and academic institutions sprang into action, their normally methodical routines disrupted by an urgent sense of purpose. Telescopes, once tools for leisurely study and long-term observation, became instruments of immediate necessity. The absence of starlight was not merely an aesthetic loss, it was a cosmic mystery demanding answers. Researchers peered into the void, their eyes searching for familiar constellations, their instruments calibrated to detect even the faintest glimmer. Yet nothing emerged. The sky above remained an unbroken expanse of darkness, indifferent to the urgency below. Astrophysicists gathered in conference halls and laboratories, sharing initial observations with a mixture of wonder and apprehension. The data, while fragmented, painted a picture of unprecedented phenomena. Satellite imagery confirmed that no scattered lights were present. Spectral analysis of the night sky revealed a uniform absorption of light across the visible spectrum. Simulations were run, hypotheses debated, and early reports circulated rapidly through digital networks. No one had encountered a scenario where celestial bodies had simultaneously ceased emitting visible light. The question on everyone's mind was simple yet profound. What had silenced the universe? Meanwhile, theoretical physicists speculated on potential cosmic events capable of producing such darkness. Could a massive interstellar cloud, composed of previously undetected dark matter, have shifted into the plane of our solar system, absorbing or refracting all starlight, or had a rare alignment of gravitational phenomena altered the propagation of photons, effectively rendering distant stars invisible to human eyes? The room hummed with conversation, punctuated by the clatter of keyboards and the occasional thoughtful pause. Every theory required validation, yet the phenomenon persisted, defying known laws and expectations. Biologists and ecologists, too, began to observe the consequences of this cosmic change. Light cycles regulate countless biological processes. Plants depend on night signals to bloom. Nocturnal animals rely on faint illuminations to hunt or hide. And humans' circadian rhythms are subtly influenced by the daily interplay of sun and stars. Without starlight, these cycles faced immediate disruption. Researchers documented the behavior of birds, mammals, and insects, noting hesitation, disorientation, and adaptive behaviors. Plants closed their flowers prematurely or failed to recognize nighttime signals, revealing the intricate dependency of life on even distant, seemingly insignificant sources of light. Astronomical observatories, usually located far from city lights to minimize interference, became beacons of scientific activity. Teams worked in continuous shifts, employing infrared sensors, radio telescopes, and space-based monitoring to detect anomalies invisible to the naked eye. Each observation, each data point, became a piece of the puzzle. Meetings were held around massive whiteboards filled with equations, diagrams, and speculative notes. Researchers argued passionately, yet respectfully, refining ideas and discarding those that could not withstand scrutiny. Amidst the urgency, there was a sense of shared humanity, a collective acknowledgement that this darkness affected all of us, regardless of borders or backgrounds. In universities, students and professors collaborated on thought experiments, exploring the potential effects of a lightless sky on human civilization. Philosophers and ethicists joined these discussions, questioning the implications of a universe that suddenly became unknowable, at least visually. What does it mean when familiar points of reference vanish? How does society adapt when basic assumptions about the cosmos are rendered unreliable? These conversations, while theoretical, offered frameworks for understanding not only the physical ramifications, but the psychological and societal ones as well. Meanwhile, engineers and technologists turned to practical solutions. Could artificial light replicate the missing stars, at least partially? Networks of drones equipped with LED arrays were deployed in some cities, creating temporary stars for public reassurance. While these efforts provided visual comfort, scientists emphasized that technological substitutes could not fully replicate the cosmic significance of real celestial bodies. The absence of stars was not merely visual, it carried symbolic weight, challenging humanity's perception of scale, order, and permanence. Throughout the night, teams collaborated across time zones, sharing live feeds, real-time data, and preliminary conclusions. Astronomers in Chile's Atacama Desert communicated with engineers in Tokyo, exchanging measurements from satellite instruments and ground sensors. Mathematicians in Cambridge ran simulations of photon behavior, testing theories about light absorption or gravitational lensing. Even amateur astronomers contributed observations, their careful recordings confirming anomalies, enriching the global understanding of this unprecedented event. By the early hours, a tentative pattern emerged. The darkness was uniform, consistent across hemispheres, and showed no signs of local interference or obstruction. Initial hypotheses about atmospheric phenomena, pollution, or man-made obstructions were quickly discarded. The world realized that this was a cosmic-scale event, one that demanded patience, precision, and collaborative ingenuity to comprehend. Interestingly, the scientific community found that the absence of stars prompted reflection, beyond data and measurements. Researchers described feelings of awe, humility, and a renewed sense of wonder. The blackened sky, unyielding and infinite, became both a challenge and a mirror. It reminded humans that knowledge, while vast, is never complete, and that curiosity is both our guide and our responsibility. The night, though devoid of light, illuminated the human spirit in ways no star ever could. Efforts expanded to historical records and archives, searching for previous occurrences. Ancient civilizations had observed unusual nights, but nothing matched the scale or simultaneity of this darkness. Comparisons were made, manuscripts examined, and folklore analyzed, revealing recurring themes. Humanity's recognition of light as a source of safety, guidance, and meaning. Scholars suggested that the psychological impact of darkness had always inspired myths, art, and stories. Yet this event surpassed imagination in its immediacy and universality. By the end of the first scientific cycle, several objectives were clear. Map the extent of darkness, understand potential cosmic mechanisms, and anticipate biological and societal consequences. Teams coordinated across continents, unified by the shared pursuit of understanding. Laboratories glowed softly under artificial lights, equations scrawled across boards, and hypotheses debated in hushed voices. The absence of stars had transformed routine observation into urgent exploration, compelling humanity to confront uncertainty with both rigor and creativity. This first night of scientific exploration revealed much about the world and ourselves. It exposed vulnerabilities, highlighted dependencies, and sparked innovation. Most importantly, it underscored a profound truth. Even in the absence of light, the human drive to observe, question, and understand remains unwavering. Darkness, though formidable, became a catalyst, not merely a challenge, a silent teacher urging patience, reflection, and discovery. The night wore on, with telescopes scanning, data streaming, and minds working tirelessly. Humanity had begun its journey toward comprehension, guided not by visible stars, but by determination, intellect, and curiosity. The cosmos had withdrawn its familiar markers, yet humans rose to the occasion, illuminating their own path through perseverance and insight. By the second dawn, or what would have been dawn, had stars still marked the passage of time. Scientists had begun to map the unknown, piece together theories, and understand the broader consequences of a starless sky. It was a night of discovery, unlike any other, a reminder that knowledge is both fragile and resilient, and that even in darkness, there is light in the human endeavor to know. Global reactions. The disappearance of stars did not remain a local curiosity. It quickly became a global phenomenon, drawing the attention of every nation, government, and community. From bustling metropolises to remote villages, the absence of celestial light affected life on every continent. News agencies reported the event with a mixture of awe and alarm, their headlines reflecting both the strangeness and gravity of the situation. A world without stars. The night the sky went dark. Global darkness challenges humanity. The coverage was relentless, each broadcast and article deepening public awareness while amplifying anxiety. Citizens everywhere, from Tokyo to Toronto, from Cape Town to Santiago, felt the weight of an altered sky pressing upon their consciousness. Governments convened emergency meetings to assess potential threats. While no immediate danger had manifested, officials recognized the profound implications. Astronomers and scientists were consulted extensively, their findings shared with policymakers in real time. Military units, tasked with national security, prepared contingency plans for scenarios that ranged from widespread disorientation among the populace to potential disruptions in navigation systems reliant on celestial markers. Diplomats communicated internationally, coordinating shared observations and pooling scientific expertise. In the span of hours, a collaborative network emerged, unprecedented in both scale and urgency. Public reactions were varied and deeply human. Some individuals experienced panic and disorientation, their routines abruptly disrupted. Commuters hesitated under streetlights, travelers postponed journeys, and families gathered indoors, seeking solace in familiarity. Others approached the darkness with curiosity, embarking on nightly walks to observe how their surroundings had changed. Parks, streets, and open fields became spaces of reflection, where people confronted the unfamiliar void and contemplated the fragility of everyday life. Even children, often resilient in the face of change, expressed confusion and concern, asking questions that adults struggled to answer. Social media became a pivotal arena for global expression. People shared photographs of unlit skies, speculated about causes, and connected through the shared experience of wonder and uncertainty. Hashtags proliferated, discussions went viral, and communities formed online, transcending borders and languages. Philosophical debates emerged alongside practical advice. How does one navigate a world without stars? How do humans maintain temporal and spatial orientation? These discussions highlighted a profound reality. Light is not merely a visual phenomenon, but a foundation of human perception, organization, and culture. In some regions, religious and spiritual leaders interpreted the darkness through a lens of faith and prophecy. Sermons, prayers, and communal gatherings sought to contextualize the night in terms of moral, spiritual, and cosmic significance. People looked for meaning in myths and ancient texts, attempting to reconcile the current event with stories passed down through generations. In other areas, secular thinkers emphasized the scientific opportunity, framing the night as an unprecedented chance to study both nature and humanity under extreme conditions. The coexistence of these perspectives illustrated the breadth of human response, blending wonder, fear, faith, and reason. Markets and economic systems experienced subtle, yet tangible effects. Nighttime commerce slowed as people hesitated to travel without the familiar reassurance of starlight and street illumination. Agricultural cycles, particularly in regions where livestock and crops depend on natural light cues, required immediate adaptation. Businesses and governments implemented emergency lighting and monitoring solutions, attempting to mitigate both physical and psychological disruption. Even cultural activities, such as evening performances, festivals, and communal gatherings, were rescheduled or adapted, acknowledging the pervasive influence of a starless sky. Scientists documented these societal shifts meticulously, recognizing the interconnectedness of light and human behavior. Data revealed patterns of adaptation. Communities self-organized to provide safe corridors for travel, shared resources for illumination, and developed social networks to maintain communication and cohesion. Despite fear and uncertainty, collaboration and resilience emerged as universal responses. Cities became experiments in social adaptation, illustrating the ingenuity and cooperation inherent to human nature. In parallel, global media emphasized the psychological impact. News outlets highlighted the rise of collective introspection, the emergence of contemplative behaviors, and even temporary emotional disturbances related to the absence of visual markers in the night sky. Psychologists advised strategies for coping with altered perception, encouraging routines and artificial cues to replace the natural rhythm of stars. Families implemented bedtime rituals, incorporating candles, lamps, and storytelling, seeking stability amidst the surreal environment, even in regions less affected by cultural reliance on celestial navigation. Individuals reported an enhanced awareness of time, space, and personal reflection. Countries with advanced technological infrastructure initiated research into artificial starlight solutions. Satellites equipped with reflective panels or light-emitting drones were deployed to simulate celestial markers, creating temporary points of reference. Cities experimented with large-scale light installations, offering both functional guidance and psychological reassurance. While these solutions could not replicate the cosmic reality, they demonstrated the capacity of humanity to adapt, innovate, and maintain continuity in the face of unprecedented conditions. International organizations convened virtual summits, discussing coordinated research, data sharing, and public guidance. The United Nations, for the first time in decades, prioritized a cosmic phenomenon as a global emergency, mobilizing scientific, technological, and humanitarian resources. Collaborative projects crossed political and cultural boundaries, with nations contributing expertise in astronomy, biology, sociology, and psychology. In these unprecedented efforts, the starless night became a unifying experience, revealing both the vulnerability and strength of global civilization. Cultural responses flourished alongside scientific and practical adaptations. Artists, musicians, and writers drew inspiration from the darkness, producing works that reflected the mystery, melancholy, and awe of the transformed skies. Concerts were held under artificial light. Poems were composed about the vanishing constellations, and visual artists created interpretations of the void. In some cases, these expressions became communal rituals, offering comfort and connection, and reminding humanity that creativity can flourish even in absence and uncertainty. The absence of stars also reignited philosophical contemplation on a global scale. Debates emerged concerning humanity's place in the universe, the fragility of perception, and the nature of reality when familiar constants disappear. Universities and think tanks hosted discussions on epistemology, cosmology, and ethics, questioning the assumptions underlying civilization's reliance on predictable celestial patterns. These reflections, though abstract, offered individuals and societies a framework for navigating uncertainty, blending reason, imagination, and wonder. Throughout this global response, a remarkable pattern emerged. Despite fear, confusion, and initial disorientation, humans adapted. Shared observation, collaboration, and reflection became a natural response to cosmic change. Communities learned to function without visual guides. Societies adjusted their routines, and international cooperation reached levels previously unimagined. The starless night, once perceived solely as loss, revealed the resilience, ingenuity, and interconnectedness of humanity. By the end of this extended first night, patterns of adaptation, cooperation, and reflection had solidified. Governments understood the importance of communication and support. Communities developed systems for guidance and reassurance, and individuals found new rhythms in daily life. The night, vast and empty above, had become a canvas for human resilience, a mirror reflecting both vulnerability and the capacity to endure, adapt, and flourish. While the darkness remained, humanity had begun to demonstrate that survival, innovation, and meaning are not dependent solely on the presence of stars. They are dependent on connection, creativity, and the unyielding drive to comprehend and coexist within a changing universe. This global reaction, simultaneous across every time zone and culture, revealed a universal truth. Even when familiar light disappears, the light within humans, the light of curiosity, collaboration, and courage, remains unwavering, illuminating the path forward. Emotional impact on individuals. The first encounters with a world without stars triggered a profound range of emotions, both subtle and intense. For some, there was a quiet sense of awe, a recognition of the universe's vastness, now made more tangible by its visual absence. Humans are innately drawn to patterns, to repetition, to the familiar constellations that have guided travelers, inspired poets, and marked the passage of time. When these points of light vanished, the familiar cues disappeared, leaving an uncanny void. Many experienced a combination of wonder and unease, a tension between curiosity and fear. In households across the globe, people noticed small but significant shifts in their routines and perceptions. Children asked endless questions, their curiosity amplified by the absence of the night sky. Parents responded with stories, reassurances, and invented patterns to provide comfort. Grandparents shared memories of starlit nights, recounting tales that blended observation with imagination. These exchanges became more than casual conversations. They became tools for coping, reflection, and adaptation. The emotional weight of darkness fostered connection, reminding individuals that shared experiences provide stability even amidst uncertainty. Adults, accustomed to structuring life around routines, experienced a deeper disruption. Sleep patterns were affected, as circadian rhythms depend partially on the subtle cues provided by moonlight and distant stars. Some found it difficult to distinguish day from night, waking at odd hours or experiencing vivid, disjointed dreams. A sense of vulnerability emerged, not from immediate danger, but from the subtle disorientation caused by the sudden absence of familiar guidance. These feelings ranged from mild anxiety to profound introspection, as individuals were forced to confront the fragility of human perception. Emotions often surfaced most vividly in moments of solitude. Individuals walking through streets or sitting quietly in their homes felt the weight of emptiness above them. The blackened sky seemed to amplify thoughts, magnifying the mind's inner dialogue. Memories, regrets, hopes, and dreams became intertwined with the silence of the night. Some people found solace in reflection, contemplating the interconnectedness of life, the fleeting nature of time, and the beauty inherent in both presence and absence. Others struggled, encountering fear, restlessness, or an acute sense of isolation. Relationships were also influenced by the altered environment. Couples, families, and friends found themselves more reliant on each other, seeking reassurance through conversation, touch, and shared activities. Even simple gestures, holding hands, lighting candles together, or gazing at a familiar horizon gained significance. Emotional bonds were tested and strengthened simultaneously, highlighting the social dimension of adaptation. Communities discovered that human connection provides both practical guidance and psychological resilience when the environment becomes unpredictable. In workplaces, employees experienced subtle emotional changes. The absence of stars had little direct impact on most professional tasks, yet the psychological effects were noticeable. People reported heightened awareness of time and space, occasional restlessness, and increased sensitivity to ambient sounds. Meetings incorporated brief pauses to account for distraction or reflection. Tasks requiring precision or attention demanded conscious effort as the mind struggled to adjust to a world devoid of cosmic markers. Yet amid these challenges, collaboration often increased. The shared reality of an altered night sky fostered empathy, patience, and cooperation. Artists and creatives responded to the starless nights with a range of emotional expression. Painters, writers, and musicians described feelings of melancholy, wonder, and inspiration. The darkness became both a muse and a mirror, reflecting the emotional landscape of humanity. Works produced during these nights explored themes of uncertainty, resilience, and introspection, resonating with audiences experiencing similar emotions. Galleries, online platforms, and performances offered spaces for collective engagement, where individuals could process feelings and share perspectives, reinforcing the communal aspect of emotional response. Psychologists and counselors emphasized the importance of acknowledging emotional impact while encouraging adaptive strategies. Techniques such as mindfulness, journaling, structured routines, and deliberate exposure to artificial light became common recommendations. Individuals practiced meditation, quiet reflection, and controlled breathing, finding comfort in small, deliberate actions that counterbalanced the vast, unknown above. Support networks strengthened, both formally through therapy and informally through friends and family, illustrating the crucial role of social and psychological support in navigating extraordinary circumstances. The first night without stars revealed patterns of individual variation. Some embraced the darkness, finding inspiration and heightened awareness. Others experienced fear, restlessness, or existential contemplation. These differences underscored a fundamental truth. Emotional resilience is both personal and contextual, shaped by past experiences, social environment, and innate temperament. Observers noted that responses often evolved over time, shifting from initial disorientation and anxiety to curiosity, reflection, and adaptation. Stories of emotional encounters spread quickly, shared through social media, news outlets, and personal communication. Individuals recounted moments of awe, fear, reflection, and creativity. Children marveled at the mystery above. Artists created works inspired by the void, and adults shared reflections on vulnerability and interconnectedness. Collectively, these accounts provided a mosaic of human emotion, illustrating both diversity and commonality in response to unprecedented conditions. The absence of stars forced people to engage more deeply with their immediate environment. The quiet rustling of leaves, the distant calls of nocturnal animals, the subtle variations in wind and temperature, all became amplified. Humans noticed textures, sounds, and rhythms previously ignored or taken for granted. These sensory experiences fostered a heightened emotional awareness, allowing individuals to process both internal and external stimuli with greater attention. In effect, the darkness sharpened perception, transforming ordinary experiences into profound encounters. Cultural practices evolved in response to emotional needs. Families established rituals of light candles, lanterns, and fires, became symbols of security and continuity. Communities organized gatherings, storytelling sessions, and musical performances, reinforcing social cohesion and mitigating fear. In many cases, these adaptations were temporary. In others, they inspired long-term changes in how people navigated and interpreted the night. Emotional resilience and adaptation were inseparable from practical innovation, illustrating a deep interdependence between mind, behavior, and environment. By the end of these first nights, individuals had traversed a complex emotional landscape. Fear, wonder, curiosity, melancholy, and hope intertwined, creating experiences that were as varied as they were universal. Humans discovered both vulnerability and strength, recognizing that while external circumstances may change unpredictably, inner capacity for adaptation, reflection, and emotional connection remains. The darkness above, vast and indifferent, became a stage for inner exploration, offering lessons that extended beyond the immediate night into the broader human experience. In conclusion, the emotional impact of a world without stars is profound and multidimensional. It reveals the dependence of humans on familiar patterns, the capacity for creativity and reflection in adversity, and the significance of connection and community. The night, though empty above, illuminated the hearts and minds of those navigating it, showing that even in the absence of cosmic guidance, humanity's emotional and psychological light endures, guiding the way through uncertainty and inspiring resilience, hope, and wonder, adaptation, and survival. As the days and nights progressed in a world without stars, the initial awe and fear gradually gave way to action. Humanity, confronted with the absence of celestial light, instinctively sought to adapt. Survival, both practical and psychological, became a central focus. Communities, governments, and individuals developed strategies to navigate the altered environment, discovering solutions that reflected ingenuity, resilience, and collaboration. In urban centers, the absence of stars necessitated changes to everyday routines. Commuters relied more heavily on streetlights, building illumination and portable light sources to maintain mobility. Emergency lighting systems were upgraded, backup power supplies expanded, and solar-powered solutions explored. Traffic patterns shifted, with authorities implementing temporary regulations to ensure safety during nights devoid of natural markers. Even city planning took on a new dimension. Architects and engineers examined how light, shadows, and spatial awareness influenced navigation, perception, and well-being. Rural and remote communities faced unique challenges. Without starlight, navigation became more difficult, particularly for shepherds, travelers, and farmers dependent on natural cues. Traditional knowledge, passed through generations, suddenly required supplementation with artificial guidance. Lanterns, torches, and reflective markers were placed along paths, fields, and boundaries, helping both humans and animals maintain orientation. Communities collaborated to establish consistent routines, balancing work, rest, and observation in ways that mitigated disorientation while preserving productivity. Agricultural practices also required adaptation. Crops that relied on photoperiods, the length of day and night, for growth and flowering needed careful monitoring. Farmers developed artificial lighting schedules to simulate natural cycles, ensuring that plants continued their normal development. Livestock, whose behavioral patterns are influenced by natural light, were gradually acclimated to adjusted feeding and resting times. Veterinary scientists and ecologists provided guidance, ensuring that biological rhythms were maintained as closely as possible despite the altered environment. Technology played a critical role in human adaptation. Engineers and inventors designed innovative devices to compensate for the absence of starlight. Portable light grids, illuminated drones, and large-scale public installations created reference points for navigation and orientation. Smartphones and wearable devices incorporated augmented reality overlays to simulate constellations and celestial markers. These technological interventions, though artificial, provided practical guidance and psychological reassurance, reducing anxiety and promoting confidence in movement and activity. Education and communication systems adapted as well. Teachers integrated the phenomenon into curricula, using it as a real-world lesson in astronomy, physics, and human resilience. Students were encouraged to observe and document changes in behavior, perception, and the environment. Media outlets emphasized public education, explaining practical strategies for adaptation, sharing scientific findings, and promoting mental well-being. This emphasis on knowledge dissemination helped reduce panic and fostered a sense of control in communities navigating an otherwise disorienting situation. Health and psychological care were prioritized. Mental health professionals developed programs to address the stress, anxiety, and disorientation associated with a starless world. Mindfulness exercises, structured routines, and artificial lighting strategies were recommended to maintain circadian rhythms and emotional stability. Group activities, community gatherings, and shared rituals provided emotional reinforcement, creating a sense of belonging and shared purpose in the face of uncertainty. Hospitals and clinics adjusted schedules to accommodate altered sleep patterns and increased psychological care demand. Economic and industrial adaptation also emerged as essential. Businesses adjusted operating hours, manufacturing schedules, and supply chains to accommodate new patterns of activity. Transportation networks relied on augmented lighting and navigation aids, ensuring safe delivery of goods and services. Farmers, merchants, and service providers coordinated to maintain continuity, demonstrating that adaptation extended beyond immediate survival to encompass broader social and economic resilience. Cultural and social adaptations were equally significant. Artists, musicians, and storytellers incorporated the darkness into their work, reflecting the altered perception of space and time. Community gatherings, light festivals, and storytelling sessions became focal points for collective coping, blending tradition with innovation. Rituals that had relied on starlight were reinterpreted, replaced by artificial light displays or symbolic gestures that preserved meaning while accommodating environmental change. Scientific observation continued alongside practical adaptation. Researchers documented behavioral changes in humans, animals, and plants, providing critical data for refining strategies and anticipating long-term consequences. International collaboration enabled rapid dissemination of findings, ensuring that best practices were shared and implemented globally. Satellite monitoring, ground-based sensors, and citizen observations contributed to a comprehensive understanding of adaptation strategies and their effectiveness. Animals, too, demonstrated remarkable adaptability. Nocturnal species adjusted their hunting, foraging, and mating behaviors in response to the absence of celestial light. Migration patterns and navigation techniques shifted subtly, guided by alternative cues such as magnetic fields, auditory signals, and artificial illumination. Ecologists noted that the initial disruption of animal behavior gradually stabilized as species adapted to the new environmental conditions, highlighting the resilience inherent in natural systems. The emotional aspect of adaptation remained central. Humans found that coping with darkness required both practical and psychological strategies. Rituals of lighting, collective gatherings, and storytelling served as anchors, providing structure and comfort. Reflection, mindfulness, and observation encouraged both personal growth and communal cohesion. Individuals discovered the importance of patience, resourcefulness, and empathy, learning to balance self-reliance with social interdependence. Innovation accelerated as a result of necessity. Engineers developed mobile lighting solutions that could be deployed quickly across urban and rural environments. Architects experimented with designs that maximized ambient illumination, utilizing reflective surfaces, strategically placed light sources, and color contrast to aid perception. Artists explored interactive installations, blending light, sound, and motion to create immersive experiences that compensated for lost celestial reference. Across sectors, creativity and practical ingenuity merged, illustrating the adaptive capacity of human society. Community networks strengthened in profound ways. Neighborhood groups organized patrols, coordinated shared resources, and established communication protocols to ensure safety. Volunteer networks delivered portable lighting and emergency supplies to vulnerable populations. Religious, civic, and social organizations mobilized to provide both practical support and emotional reassurance, reinforcing the idea that adaptation is not merely individual but collective. Internationally, governments shared strategies, technologies, and findings, fostering a spirit of cooperation unprecedented in scale. Countries with advanced infrastructure provided support to less equipped regions, deploying mobile lighting systems, educational materials, and scientific expertise. Global communication networks ensured that adaptation strategies were updated in real time, informed by continuous observation and experimentation. By the end of the first weeks, a new equilibrium emerged. Humans had developed routines that balanced practical needs with psychological resilience. Cities glowed with artificial reference points. Rural paths were illuminated for safe navigation. And educational, cultural, and social systems had integrated the reality of a starless night. The initial shock gave way to competence, creativity, and confidence. Humanity had adapted not merely to survive, but to thrive within a transformed environment. This process of adaptation demonstrated a fundamental truth. While celestial guidance had been lost, human ingenuity, collaboration, and resilience were unbroken. A world without stars challenged perception, behavior, and expectation. Yet, through observation, innovation, and cooperation, humans created systems, structures, and rituals that restored balance. Survival became a shared experience, highlighting the interdependence of society, technology, and the human spirit. Even in darkness, life endured. Communities, guided by both science and social cohesion, navigated safely. Economies continued, education advanced, and cultural practices flourished. Animals adjusted their behaviors. Plants were nurtured through artificial cycles, and humans discovered new patterns of perception, awareness, and connection. Adaptation was not merely reactive. It was proactive, creative, and transformative, revealing the extraordinary capacity of life to adjust to unprecedented conditions. The story of adaptation and survival during the starless nights is one of courage, ingenuity, and hope. Humans proved that even in the absence of natural guidance, they could create order, maintain connection, and thrive through careful observation, technological innovation, cultural adaptation, and emotional resilience. Humanity navigated a world altered beyond recognition, emerging not merely intact, but enriched by the experience. Rediscovering light. After weeks of navigating a world devoid of stars, humanity began to notice subtle shifts. The darkness, once oppressive, gradually became a backdrop for discovery, adaptation, and reflection. People learned to appreciate the nuances of light that remained streetlights, candle flames, glowing screens, and the moon when visible, and to create new sources of illumination where none existed. In this altered world, the concept of light evolved from something taken for granted into something consciously cultivated, understood, and cherished. Scientific communities continued their work with renewed focus. Observatories, research satellites, and laboratories analyzed residual celestial radiation, subtle glimmers, and the faintest particles of light. Each fragment provided clues about the nature of the vanished starlight, helping physicists, astronomers, and mathematicians formulate new theories about cosmic mechanics. The collaboration between observational scientists and theoretical thinkers deepened as experiments, simulations, and data from around the globe combined to create a clearer understanding of why the stars had disappeared and how, perhaps, they could be restored. For the public, the process of rediscovering light became both a practical and symbolic journey. Families experimented with artificial lighting, creating miniature constellations using LED arrays, reflective surfaces, and creative arrangements of lamps. Children mapped imaginary stars onto ceilings, learning not only geometry and spatial awareness, but also patience and imagination. Communities erected light installations in parks, plazas, and public squares, transforming urban spaces into shared arenas for hope, connection, and inspiration. In this way, light became a medium through which people could reconnect with each other and their environment. Psychologically, the adaptation to light, or its absence, revealed remarkable resilience. People developed heightened awareness of contrast, shadow, and perception, refining their senses in ways previously unnecessary. Walking at night became an exercise in attentiveness. Even subtle movements of wind, rustling leaves, or distant animal sounds became cues for orientation. Emotional responses shifted as well. Initial anxiety and disorientation gave way to curiosity, creativity, and a quiet reverence for the faintest sources of illumination. Light, in all its forms, was no longer merely functional. It had become a symbol of perseverance, imagination, and renewal. Artists, writers, and musicians embraced this transformation, integrating new interpretations of light into their works. Painters experimented with chiaroscuro and luminescence, capturing the interplay of shadow and illumination with unprecedented subtlety. Writers explored themes of hope, discovery, and the human capacity to find meaning even when natural guides vanish. Musicians composed pieces inspired by the quiet glow of artificial lights or the gentle flicker of candles, emphasizing rhythm, texture, and emotion over visual cues. Across cultures, art became a tool for both reflection and adaptation, translating collective experience into shared expression. Education systems incorporated the concept of rediscovering light into curricula, emphasizing scientific, artistic, and philosophical perspectives. Students engaged in practical experiments with light propagation, color, and perception, learning the physics behind illumination while exploring its symbolic and psychological significance. Lessons extended beyond classrooms, as families, museums, and community centers offered workshops and demonstrations that bridged science, creativity, and lived experience. The process encouraged critical thinking, creativity, and collaboration, preparing younger generations to thrive in a world transformed by cosmic absence. Technological innovation accelerated in parallel. Engineers developed portable, sustainable lighting systems capable of replicating star patterns, enhancing both navigation and aesthetic experience. Augmented reality tools projected virtual constellations, guiding users while maintaining a sense of cosmic connection. Energy-efficient lighting solutions proliferated, balancing environmental responsibility with the need for visibility and orientation. Cities began to integrate light planning into urban design, ensuring that public spaces supported both functionality and psychological well-being. In essence, humanity was not merely compensating for loss. It was creating a new understanding and appreciation of light itself. Cultural rituals evolved in response to these innovations. Festivals celebrated artificial constellations. Candlelight vigils commemorated the lost stars, and storytelling sessions explored the emotional and philosophical dimensions of light. Communities used these practices to reinforce social cohesion, celebrate resilience, and encourage reflection. The darkness above, once a source of fear, now served as a backdrop for creativity, contemplation, and shared human experience. The act of creating, shaping, and appreciating light became a universal practice, bridging science, art, and emotion. On a personal level, individuals discovered that the act of seeking light, observing, creating, or even imagining it was transformative. People reported heightened mindfulness, deeper reflection, and increased emotional awareness. Nightly routines incorporated rituals of illumination, such as lighting candles, arranging lamps, or simply appreciating ambient light sources. These practices provided both comfort and structure, anchoring daily life in a world where natural markers were absent. In essence, rediscovering light was as much about internal perception as external environment, blending cognitive adaptation with emotional resilience. The absence of stars also inspired philosophical contemplation. Scholars, poets, and thinkers reflected on the relationship between light, knowledge, and understanding. They questioned what it means to perceive, how humans find orientation in both physical and metaphorical senses, and how meaning emerges in absence as well as presence. These reflections enriched cultural dialogue, emphasizing that light is not merely a physical phenomenon, but a lens through which humans interpret, navigate, and understand the universe and themselves. Ecological and biological considerations were integral to rediscovering light. Researchers monitored how artificial illumination affected wildlife, plant growth, and natural rhythms. Adjustments ensured that interventions supported human needs without causing undue disruption to ecosystems. Animals gradually adapted to artificial cues, and plants responded to controlled light cycles, demonstrating the intricate interdependence of natural and human systems. This careful balance illustrated a key lesson. Rediscovering light required responsibility, understanding, and foresight. By the end of this period, light, both literal and symbolic, had been reclaimed as a central feature of human life. Cities glowed with innovative installations. Rural landscapes integrated sustainable illumination, and individuals engaged with light in creative, practical, and reflective ways. The universe, still devoid of natural starlight, became a canvas for human ingenuity, resilience, and imagination. In adapting, humanity had not merely replaced what was lost, but had redefined the relationship between perception, creativity, and survival. Rediscovering light was transformative. It revealed humanity's capacity to adapt to extreme change, to create order and meaning in the absence of natural cues, and to find both beauty and function in artificial illumination. The experience reinforced a central truth. Even when familiar guides disappear, the human spirit, through curiosity, creativity, and perseverance, can illuminate the world in ways that transcend what was lost. Cosmic reflection and human insight. In the prolonged darkness that blanketed the earth, humanity discovered not only practical adaptations, but also profound insights into existence itself. The absence of stars transformed everyday experience into a canvas for reflection, a reminder of the vastness of the cosmos and the fragility of life. People began to contemplate their place in the universe, the nature of perception, and the delicate balance between certainty and uncertainty. Across the globe, philosophical thought flourished. Universities, cultural centers, and informal discussion groups explored questions that had previously been abstract or academic. What does it mean to exist in a universe that feels temporarily void? How do humans find orientation, both literally and metaphorically, when familiar guides vanish? These discussions did not remain theoretical. They influenced practical decisions, artistic expression, and social dynamics. People found that reflection on cosmic phenomena catalyzed personal growth, emotional awareness, and a heightened appreciation for shared experience. Individuals reported a deepening awareness of time and space. Without stars marking the night, the usual temporal cues were disrupted, prompting people to measure and interpret the passage of hours through other means. Subtle changes in temperature, wind, and ambient sound became markers of rhythm and routine. Many kept journals, tracking both environmental shifts and emotional responses. This act of observation reinforced mindfulness, encouraging reflection on the interplay between external reality and internal perception. In a sense, humans became both explorers and cartographers of time, mapping the invisible rhythms of the world. Artistic expression reached unprecedented levels of introspection. Painters, sculptors, and digital artists experimented with abstraction, portraying absence and void in ways that evoked both melancholy and beauty. Writers composed narratives exploring uncertainty, human resilience, and the intersection of imagination and reality. Musicians created compositions that mirrored the quietude of the starless night, using silence as a structural and emotional device. Across mediums, the creative response to darkness revealed the human capacity to transform fear and uncertainty into aesthetic and philosophical insight. The darkness also catalyzed collective introspection. Communities engaged in conversations about ethics, priorities, and the shared human experience. Religious and spiritual traditions interpreted the phenomenon as both a test and a revelation, prompting rituals and ceremonies focused on unity, gratitude, and reflection. Secular gatherings emphasized science, philosophy, and humanistic inquiry, exploring the ways in which perception, knowledge, and resilience intersect. The absence of stars, rather than dividing communities, often fostered deeper connection and dialogue, revealing shared values and aspirations that transcended geography and culture. Scientific inquiry deepened alongside philosophical reflection. Astronomers, physicists, and cosmologists explored hypotheses regarding the vanishing stars, integrating observational data with theoretical modeling. Collaborative international projects emerged, blending expertise from multiple disciplines. These efforts not only advanced understanding of celestial mechanics, but also illuminated the limitations and capacities of human perception. Scientists documented both the physical phenomena and societal responses, recognizing that humanity's interpretation of cosmic events is inseparable from the event itself. Individuals found personal meaning in their observations and reflections. Some described heightened empathy, feeling a profound connection with others navigating the same darkness. Others experienced existential contemplation, questioning purpose, mortality, and the nature of reality. Meditation, journaling, and quiet reflection became tools for personal insight, allowing people to reconcile fear, curiosity, and wonder. These practices were not limited to isolated individuals. They often occurred within families, groups, and communities, creating a layered tapestry of personal and shared reflection. Education systems adapted to incorporate cosmic reflection as a core learning objective. Students explored astronomy, philosophy, psychology, and creative arts, using the starless night as a lens through which to examine both the universe and themselves. Lessons emphasized critical thinking, imaginative problem solving, and emotional intelligence. Field exercises included observation of subtle environmental cues, recording patterns in nature, and artistic interpretation of absence and void. This educational approach blended knowledge with experience, fostering a generation attuned to both external reality and internal understanding. Global media contributed to the reflective process. Documentaries, articles, and interactive platforms highlighted human experiences and insights during the starless nights. Stories of adaptation, creativity, and resilience were shared widely, inspiring cross-cultural dialogue and collaboration. Social media became a venue for philosophical and artistic exchange, connecting individuals through the common thread of cosmic reflection. The collective sharing of insights, challenges, and discoveries reinforced the sense that humanity, despite its vulnerabilities, was capable of profound understanding and adaptation. Psychological studies revealed enduring effects of cosmic reflection. Individuals demonstrated increased tolerance for uncertainty, heightened observational skills, and greater emotional awareness. Exposure to prolonged darkness, when coupled with supportive communities and structured routines, enhanced mindfulness, problem-solving ability, and creativity. Therapists and counselors noted that the process of navigating absence, uncertainty, and adaptation strengthened cognitive and emotional resilience, illustrating that challenges can catalyze growth when approached thoughtfully. Technological innovation continued to intersect with human insight. Augmented reality, immersive simulations, and interactive educational tools allowed individuals to explore cosmic concepts, reconstruct constellations, and simulate celestial phenomena. These tools reinforced reflection by making abstract concepts tangible, enabling people to engage both intellectually and emotionally. In effect, technology became a medium through which humanity could bridge the gap between perception and imagination, transforming void into a landscape of insight. Communities also developed symbolic practices reflecting cosmic reflection. Rituals, ceremonies, and cultural events incorporated artificial stars, lanterns, and ambient lighting as metaphors for understanding, hope, and connection. These practices reinforced social cohesion, provided comfort, and encouraged ongoing reflection on both personal and collective experience. Light, though artificial, became a shared symbol of resilience, creativity, and insight, uniting people across geographical, cultural, and generational boundaries. Philosophical discourse expanded to explore the nature of perception itself. Scholars questioned assumptions about reliance on external cues for understanding time, space, and self. The absence of stars highlighted the interplay between objective reality and subjective experience, prompting exploration of consciousness, imagination, and the human capacity to construct meaning. These inquiries, while abstract, had tangible effects on social, educational, and creative practices, demonstrating the inseparability of reflection, insight, and lived experience. The environmental impact of human adaptation intersected with cosmic reflection. Sustainable lighting solutions, urban planning innovations, and ecological monitoring ensured that adaptation respected natural systems. Individuals became attuned to subtle environmental signals, temperature fluctuations, wind patterns, animal behavior, enhancing both survival and philosophical appreciation of interconnectedness. In this sense, reflection was not solely intellectual or emotional. It was also ecological, integrating awareness of human, animal, and environmental interdependence. As days and nights passed, the reflective process crystallized into a broader understanding. The human response to absence, uncertainty, and change is inherently creative, adaptive, and resilient. The vanishing stars had initially provoked fear and disorientation, but through observation, collaboration, artistic expression, and philosophical inquiry, humanity transformed the challenge into insight. Individuals discovered personal strength, communities reinforced cohesion, and global society cultivated knowledge and resilience that transcended the immediate crisis. In the end, cosmic reflection revealed a profound truth. Even when the familiar vanishes, meaning can be constructed, insight can emerge, and beauty can be created. Humans learned that light, whether physical or metaphorical, exists not only in stars, but in perception, creativity, connection, and understanding. The absence of celestial guidance became a catalyst for discovery, inspiring new ways of thinking, feeling, and being. Humanity, once reliant on external markers, discovered that the most enduring light resides within an illumination of consciousness, compassion, and insight that guides even in the deepest darkness. The story of cosmic reflection and human insight, carved across nights without stars, demonstrates the extraordinary potential of the human mind and heart. It illustrates that even in absence, uncertainty, and void, humans are capable of adaptation, creation, and profound understanding. Through observation, reflection, and connection, society not only survived, but also evolved, integrating lessons from darkness into the very fabric of human experience. Hope, renewal, and the return of stars. After weeks and months of navigating a world without stars, a subtle but profound transformation began to emerge. Humanity, having endured fear, uncertainty, and disorientation, now approached the night with a sense of anticipation, curiosity, and cautious optimism. The darkness that had once seemed endless was slowly being illuminated by both human ingenuity and the promise of cosmic return. Hope, fragile at first, began to spread like a quiet, persistent light. Communities continued to innovate, building upon the adaptive strategies developed during the starless nights. Artificial constellations, glowing pathways, and light installations became more sophisticated, blending aesthetics with functionality. These efforts were not merely practical, they were symbolic, representing humanity's capacity to thrive in adversity. Children mapped virtual stars on ceilings, streets were adorned with luminescent art, and public squares became gathering points where the absence of celestial light was transformed into a celebration of human creativity and resilience. Scientific endeavors intensified. Astronomers and astrophysicists, working in concert across continents, monitored subtle signs of stellar activity. Observatories measured faint radiations, and computational models predicted the potential return of stars. Collaborative experiments, simulations, and observational campaigns provided a framework for understanding the celestial anomaly. Citizens participated as well, contributing observations, maintaining logs, and assisting in experiments. This collective approach underscored a fundamental truth. The human capacity for hope is amplified when shared, when combined with knowledge, creativity, and action. The psychological impact of anticipating the return of stars was profound. Individuals, communities, and entire societies experienced heightened awareness, optimism, and emotional resilience. Rituals of light, once compensatory, now celebratory, became central to daily life. Families lit candles, schools organized observational events, and public gatherings marked the passage of nights with music, art, and storytelling. Hope, in this context, was tangible. It was woven into the very fabric of social interaction and cultural expression. Artistic expression evolved alongside the return of light. Painters depicted imagined constellations and scenes of celestial reawakening, exploring both the mystery of absence and the joy of return. Writers crafted narratives that traced human endurance, courage, and creativity, blending reality and imagination. Musicians composed pieces inspired by the slow reemergence of stars, capturing rhythm, silence, and anticipation in a manner that mirrored the collective heartbeat of society. Art became both a reflection of experience and a vehicle for communal hope. Technological solutions complemented psychological and cultural adaptation. Advanced lighting systems simulated natural patterns, aiding orientation and preserving circadian rhythms. Augmented reality platforms recreated constellations, providing both guidance and emotional reassurance. Communities experimented with adaptive light grids that shifted according to human activity and environmental cues. These innovations did not merely substitute for the lost stars. They created new forms of beauty utility, and connection, demonstrating the human capacity to create meaning and guidance, even in the absence of natural markers. Education systems integrated hope and renewal into learning. Students observed, documented, and interpreted changes in celestial conditions, fostering scientific literacy alongside emotional understanding. Curricula emphasized resilience, problem solving, and collective responsibility, blending knowledge with practical and emotional insight. Field studies included observation of subtle light patterns, ecological monitoring, and collaborative artistic projects. Education became a means of preparing future generations to navigate uncertainty with creativity, patience, and insight. Communities embraced collective reflection, recognizing that adaptation, observation, and creativity were only part of the journey. Shared ceremonies, festivals, and storytelling sessions emphasized the emotional and symbolic significance of the returning stars. Lantern-lit parades, musical performances, and public art installations symbolized hope and continuity, reinforcing social cohesion and the value of communal effort. These events became milestones, marking the transition from fear and disorientation to anticipation and celebration. The natural world responded in subtle ways as well. Animals, acclimated to human adaptation and artificial lighting, gradually resumed behaviors influenced by environmental cues, including foraging, migration, and reproductive cycles. Ecologists noted improvements in animal navigation and behavior, illustrating the interconnectedness of ecosystems, human activity, and celestial phenomena. Plants grown under adaptive light cycles continued to thrive, demonstrating that resilience, when guided by knowledge and observation, can bridge human and natural systems. Philosophical and spiritual reflection deepened as anticipation of stellar return grew. Thinkers explored the meaning of resilience, the significance of absence and return, and the human capacity to interpret, adapt, and create. Religious and spiritual traditions incorporated new rituals that blended gratitude, reflection, and anticipation, fostering hope and a sense of continuity. Communities recognized that the return of stars, though uncertain, could serve as a catalyst for deeper connection with the cosmos and with each other. Scientific observations began to suggest that stars were indeed returning. Faint glimmers, first visible to the most sensitive instruments, gradually became perceptible to the naked eye. Night after night, the darkness shifted, revealing subtle points of light that heralded renewal. People experienced awe, disbelief, and joy, emotions that had been dormant during the prolonged absence of celestial guidance. Families, communities, and individuals celebrated quietly and collectively, recognizing the extraordinary scale of what was unfolding above them. The psychological and emotional impact of witnessing the first returning stars was profound. individuals reported feelings of elation, relief, and connectedness. The human brain, attuned to rhythm, pattern, and orientation, responded to the visual reintroduction of cosmic markers with both cognitive and emotional satisfaction. The restored stars provided not only guidance and familiarity, but also validation of human resilience, creativity, and persistence. Observation of this renewal became a shared experience, reinforcing bonds and communal memory. Global media captured and shared the experience widely. Live broadcasts, interactive maps, and citizen-submitted observations allowed individuals everywhere to participate virtually. Cultural narratives evolved, integrating the emotional journey of darkness, adaptation, and the return of light. Documentaries and artistic projects highlighted human ingenuity, collective resilience, and the profound symbolism of the star's reappearance. This dissemination of experience strengthened both individual and societal understanding, demonstrating that hope and renewal are amplified through shared perception and storytelling. The return of stars also catalyzed scientific breakthroughs. Data collected during the absence provided unprecedented insight into cosmic mechanics, celestial behavior, and environmental interdependence. Astronomers, physicists, and computational modelers refined theories, predicting long-term patterns and potential cosmic anomalies. The crisis and subsequent renewal revealed the importance of observation, documentation, and collaborative problem-solving in both scientific and social contexts. Humanity had not only survived, but gained profound knowledge about the universe and itself. Communities celebrated with both quiet reflection and elaborate gatherings. Public squares, parks, and observatories became sites of observation, ritual, and collective joy. Music, art, and storytelling commemorated the return of stars, emphasizing continuity, hope, and human creativity. These celebrations reinforced the lessons learned during the starless nights, that resilience, adaptation, and connection are as vital as survival itself. On a personal level, the experience transformed individuals' understanding of time, space, and self. The darkness had prompted reflection, creativity, and adaptation. The return of stars validated endurance, curiosity, and resilience. People reported heightened appreciation for ordinary experiences, greater empathy for others, and deeper awareness of interconnectedness. The night sky, once again dotted with light, symbolized not only cosmic presence, but human achievement, perseverance, and insight. By the end of this period, humanity had fully embraced the dual lessons of absence and return, practical adaptation, technological innovation, artistic expression, and philosophical reflection combined to create a society capable of thriving amidst uncertainty. The return of stars was not merely a restoration of celestial markers. It was a testament to human resilience, creativity, and hope. It illustrated that even in profound darkness, light, literal and metaphorical, can be anticipated, nurtured, and ultimately celebrated. The story of hope, renewal, and the return of stars concludes with a vision of a world transformed. Humans, having faced unprecedented absence, discovered profound capacities for adaptation, insight, and connection. Communities, cultures, and individuals had navigated fear, uncertainty, and isolation, emerging with knowledge, resilience, and a renewed sense of possibility. The stars, once gone, now returned not only as points of light in the sky, but as symbols of endurance, inspiration, and the enduring brilliance of the human spirit. Lessons from darkness. The prolonged absence of stars left humanity with more than adaptation strategies. It left profound lessons. In navigating weeks and months without celestial guidance, people discovered truths about resilience, collaboration, perception, and hope. Darkness, once feared as disorienting and oppressive, became a teacher, revealing the depth of human ingenuity and the capacity to find meaning even in absence. The first lesson was resilience. Individuals, families, and communities learned to confront uncertainty and fear without succumbing to panic. Practical adjustments, such as reorganizing daily routines, creating artificial light sources, and developing navigational strategies, demonstrated the power of human problem solving. Yet beyond practical adaptation, there was emotional resilience. People learned to manage anxiety, maintain motivation, and sustain hope in the face of prolonged disorientation. This dual resilience, practical and emotional, became the foundation for recovery and eventual renewal. Collaboration emerged as another crucial lesson. The crisis underscored that survival and adaptation are most effective when humans work together. Communities shared knowledge, resources, and strategies, ensuring that even the most vulnerable members could navigate the darkness. International cooperation in scientific research facilitated rapid understanding and technological innovation across scales, from neighborhoods to global networks. The absence of stars revealed that connection and collective effort amplify both efficiency and morale. Observation and awareness were deeply refined, with natural celestial markers absent. Humans relied on subtle environmental cues, shifts in temperature, wind patterns, animal behavior, and artificial light. These observations encouraged heightened mindfulness and attention to detail, demonstrating that humans can adapt perception to circumstances, even when familiar reference points vanish. The process of noticing, recording, and responding to subtle cues reinforced critical thinking, patience, and creativity. Creativity and innovation became essential tools for survival and adaptation. The need to navigate, orient, and maintain daily life inspired technological solutions, from portable lighting devices to augmented reality simulations of constellations. Artistic expression flourished, as painters, writers, and musicians translated the emotional and perceptual experience of darkness into compelling works. These creative endeavors were not merely aesthetic, they reinforced social cohesion, emotional processing, and cognitive engagement, illustrating the intertwined nature of imagination and practical problem solving. Psychological insight was another lesson. The human mind proved capable of adjusting to extreme circumstances, developing coping mechanisms, routines, and reflective practices to maintain mental health. Journaling, meditation, structured daily rituals, and communal gatherings helped individuals process uncertainty and stress. The experience highlighted the importance of structured support, emotional intelligence, and adaptive coping strategies, emphasizing that psychological well-being is inseparable from practical adaptation. Education also evolved as a lesson from darkness. Students engaged with real-world applications of science, technology, and art, learning to observe, experiment, and innovate in response to changing conditions. Curricula integrated reflection, creativity, and problem solving alongside traditional subjects. These educational approaches prepared young people to navigate uncertainty with resilience, curiosity, and collaboration, demonstrating that lessons learned during crisis can extend far beyond immediate survival. Cultural adaptation underscored the human ability to reinterpret tradition and ritual in response to new circumstances. Festivals, storytelling sessions, and community events incorporated artificial light, symbolic gestures, and creative innovations, preserving meaning while accommodating absence. This flexibility revealed that culture is not static, but responsive, capable of maintaining cohesion, purpose, and identity, even when environmental conditions shift dramatically. Another vital lesson was the importance of hope throughout the darkness. Anticipation of returning stars motivated individuals and communities to continue innovating, observing, and creating. Hope functioned as both emotional sustenance and practical guidance, encouraging endurance and proactive problem solving. The eventual return of stars reinforced this lesson, demonstrating that perseverance and collective effort can bridge even profound gaps between absence and fulfillment. Reflection became a core practice, offering insight into the relationship between humans and the cosmos. Philosophical inquiry, artistic interpretation, and scientific investigation combined to reveal that meaning is constructed as much by perception and imagination as by external reality. Humans discovered that even when familiar markers vanish, intentional observation, reflection, and creativity can restore orientation, purpose, and understanding. Ecological awareness was strengthened as well. The adaptation to artificial light, altered routines, and new behaviors prompted careful consideration of environmental impact. Sustainable solutions balanced human needs with ecological preservation, illustrating that responsibility, foresight, and respect for natural systems are essential even amidst crisis. Lessons from darkness extended beyond immediate survival, encompassing long-term stewardship of both social and natural environments. The absence of stars highlighted interdependence. Humans relied on each other, on technology, on creative problem solving, and on the natural environment to navigate and thrive. This interdependence fostered empathy, communication, and collaboration, reinforcing social bonds and shared responsibility. Individuals came to recognize that collective resilience is as vital as individual effort, and that human achievement is amplified when connected through cooperation and shared purpose. Finally, the experience offered insight into the transformative power of adversity. Darkness, initially threatening, became a catalyst for growth, reflection, and innovation. Individuals discovered latent capabilities, communities strengthened cohesion, and global networks advanced knowledge and technology. The prolonged absence of stars demonstrated that challenges, when approached with creativity, observation, and collaboration, can catalyze profound human growth and insight. In conclusion, the lessons from darkness are manifold and enduring. Humanity learned resilience, collaboration, creativity, observation, psychological adaptability, hope, reflection, ecological responsibility, interdependence, and the transformative potential of adversity. The starless nights, once a source of fear, became a teacher, revealing capacities within individuals and societies that might otherwise have remained dormant. Through adaptation, reflection, and perseverance, humanity not only survived, but emerged enriched, prepared for both future challenges and the eventual return of light, the lasting light of the stars. As the stars gradually returned to the night sky, their presence illuminated not only the earth, but also the minds and hearts of humanity. The brilliance of distant suns reminded people of the vastness of the universe, the continuity of time, and the resilience embedded in life itself. But beyond the physical glow, the experience of darkness had left a lasting imprint, a deeper understanding of light, perception, hope, and human potential. The first and most profound realization was that light, in its fullest sense, is not only a physical phenomenon, but also a symbol of knowledge, creativity, and connection. Humanity had endured weeks of uncertainty, fear, and adaptation, discovering that illumination could exist in multiple forms: artificial, symbolic, and psychological. Cities glimmered with innovative lighting systems. Communities celebrated with lanterns and projections, and individuals carried a renewed awareness of how light shapes emotion, cognition, and perception. Stars, returning to their celestial positions, were now complemented by the lights humanity had created, a testament to creativity and collaboration. Art, literature, and music reflected this enduring light. Artists depicted not only the restored stars, but also the interplay between human-made illumination and natural celestial brilliance. Writers explored narratives of resilience, hope, and transformation, weaving experiences of absence and renewal into compelling stories. Musicians composed works that mirrored the subtle rhythm of returning light, incorporating pauses, crescendos, and silence to evoke both reflection and awe. Across cultures, creative expression became a medium for internalizing and communicating lessons learned, reinforcing that light encompasses more than visibility. It embodies emotion, insight, and collective memory. Scientific achievement and curiosity were also enduring. The period of starless nights had spurred unprecedented observational collaboration, technological development, and theoretical exploration. Astronomers, physicists, and computational scientists gained insights into cosmic phenomena that would have been impossible under ordinary conditions. These discoveries reshaped humanity's understanding of the universe, its laws, and the fragility of observation. Instruments designed to monitor faint radiations, simulate celestial mechanics, and predict the return of stars became legacy tools, continuing to guide research and inspire future generations. Human perception had been transformed. The necessity of heightened observation, attention to environmental cues, and creative adaptation had strengthened cognitive and emotional capacities. Individuals became more attuned to subtle variations in light, sound, and texture, learning to extract information and meaning from what might once have been overlooked. This sharpened awareness extended beyond survival. It influenced art, education, decision-making, and interpersonal relationships. Humanity had discovered that darkness can train perception, and that light, once restored, offers both reassurance and a reminder of the lessons acquired. Community bonds, forged and strengthened in response to darkness, endured long after the stars returned. Shared experiences of adaptation, reflection, and celebration created networks of trust, empathy, and collaboration. Cultural rituals established during the period of absence became traditions, commemorating human ingenuity and collective resilience. Festivals, storytelling sessions, and public art events continued to honor the interplay between cosmic light and human creativity. Social cohesion, once tested by disorientation and fear, had emerged stronger, illustrating that adversity can catalyze both individual and collective growth. Education retained the influence of the starless nights. Curricula integrated lessons on resilience, observation, creativity, and adaptation, alongside traditional science, art, and philosophy. Students explored the physics of light, the psychology of perception, and the symbolism of illumination, while engaging in hands-on projects simulating past experiences. Teachers emphasized not only knowledge acquisition, but also emotional intelligence, problem solving, and collaborative thinking. By embedding these insights into learning, humanity ensured that future generations would carry forward the understanding that light, both literal and metaphorical, is cultivated through observation, reflection, and action. Philosophical contemplation deepened. Scholars, thinkers, and everyday observers pondered the nature of absence, renewal, and meaning. They reflected on the interplay between uncertainty and growth, recognizing that challenges can reveal capacities and insights dormant in ordinary circumstances. The human experience of darkness had illuminated the importance of intentional reflection, mindfulness, and the pursuit of understanding. Even as the cosmos returned to its familiar rhythm, these philosophical insights persisted, shaping culture, ethics, and individual worldviews. Psychological resilience and hope, honed during the period of darkness, became permanent assets. Individuals had learned to manage fear, cultivate patience, and sustain optimism even when external cues were absent. These skills, now reinforced by the return of celestial light, informed daily life, interpersonal relationships, and collective decision-making. Communities retained rituals and practices that fostered mindfulness, reflection, and emotional awareness. Hope, once fragile and tested, had become a durable element of human experience. Technology continued to enhance the interplay between natural and artificial light. Advanced lighting systems, augmented reality projections, and interactive educational tools ensured that humanity could both observe the stars and engage creatively with illumination. Urban planning incorporated lessons from adaptive lighting, balancing aesthetic, functional, and ecological concerns. These innovations demonstrated that the lessons learned during the starless nights were not temporary measures, but enduring strategies for harmonizing human activity with both natural phenomena and societal needs. The natural world also benefited from the lessons learned. Artificial lighting had been deployed thoughtfully, minimizing disruption to ecosystems while ensuring human safety and orientation. Animals and plants had adapted to new light cycles, and environmental monitoring had improved as a result. Ecological awareness, reinforced by experience, became a permanent aspect of human planning and daily life. Humans learned that resilience and innovation must respect natural systems, emphasizing interdependence and responsibility. Ultimately, the lasting light of the stars became both a literal and metaphorical guide. Humanity had endured absence, cultivated creativity, embraced collaboration, and reflected deeply. The restored stars reminded people that the universe continues beyond immediate perception, while human ingenuity illuminated ways to navigate and interpret reality. Light, whether from distant suns or human-made sources, symbolized hope, knowledge, resilience, and connection. The experience had taught that illumination is never passive. It is perceived, created, and cherished. The enduring legacy of the starless nights manifested in multiple domains: science, art, psychology, education, community, philosophy, and ecology. Lessons learned during darkness informed how humans engaged with the world, with each other, and with the cosmos. The star's return, while magnificent, was complemented by the human capacity to create light, adapt, and reflect. Humanity had discovered that even in absence, potential exists. Even in darkness, understanding and creativity emerge. And even when celestial guidance falters, the human spirit can illuminate both perception and experience. In the end, the lasting light of the stars was not confined to the heavens. It resided within the hearts and minds of humanity, embedded in observation, innovation, art, reflection, and hope. The journey through darkness had revealed the depth of human potential, the power of collaboration, and the enduring capacity to find meaning in both absence and presence. The stars above were once again bright, but the illumination they inspired on earth and within the human soul was permanent, a testament to resilience, creativity, and the enduring brilliance of life itself. Final reflection and conclusion. As the story of the starless nights comes to a close, humanity stands at the intersection of memory, insight, and anticipation. The absence of stars, once a source of fear and disorientation, has become a profound chapter in human history, a testament to endurance, creativity, and collective wisdom. The journey through darkness revealed lessons that will endure long after the night sky returned to its familiar brilliance. The first reflection centers on resilience. Humans proved capable of enduring profound uncertainty, adapting to new realities, and thriving even when traditional guides vanished. From navigating unlit streets to sustaining emotional balance, individuals discovered latent capacities that might otherwise have remained dormant. Communities supported one another, exchanging knowledge, resources, and encouragement. The resilience cultivated during these nights became both practical and philosophical, a model of how humanity can confront future challenges with courage, patience, and ingenuity. Collaboration emerged as a defining theme. The shared experience of darkness fostered global cooperation in science, technology, art, and culture. Citizens contributed observations, researchers coordinated across continents, and communities exchanged strategies for adaptation and celebration. This collective effort underscored the essential truth that humans are strongest when working together, blending individual talent with communal wisdom. The starless nights demonstrated that interdependence, empathy, and shared purpose are not abstract ideals, but tangible sources of survival and progress. Observation and awareness, refined under the conditions of darkness, have left a lasting imprint on human perception. With the stars absent, people learned to interpret subtle environmental cues, develop new sensory attunements, and apply creative problem solving to everyday challenges. These skills extended beyond navigation. They enhanced art, science, education, and interpersonal interaction. The experience revealed that when familiar markers are removed, humans can recalibrate perception, discovering insight, creativity, and subtlety previously unnoticed. Creativity became a lifeline and a legacy. Art, literature, music, and design flourished, reflecting both the void and the resilience required to endure it. These expressions transformed fear into beauty, uncertainty into narrative, and absence into meaning. Communities embraced creative projects not only as aesthetic pursuits, but as tools for emotional processing, social cohesion, and philosophical reflection. The integration of creativity into survival underscored the inseparability of imagination and practical adaptation, demonstrating that human ingenuity is both functional and transcendent. Psychological growth was a central outcome. Individuals cultivated coping mechanisms, mindfulness practices, and reflective routines that reinforced emotional stability. Journaling, meditation, and communal storytelling allowed people to process fear, anticipate change, and maintain hope. The psychological lessons acquired during darkness have enduring value, providing tools for navigating future uncertainties. Hope, once tested, now stands as a resilient and active force, guiding thought, action, and communal engagement. Education absorbed and amplified these lessons. Students participated in hands-on projects that combined science, philosophy, art, and observation. Curricula emphasized problem-solving, collaboration, and reflective thinking. The starless nights became a living laboratory, teaching adaptability, awareness, and creativity. By integrating these experiences into formal learning, humanity ensured that the insights gained would inform future generations, strengthening both intellectual and emotional capacities. Cultural evolution also emerged as a critical outcome. Societies adapted rituals, storytelling traditions, and communal celebrations to accommodate the absence of stars, preserving meaning while embracing innovation. Festivals, lantern-lit gatherings, and artistic events commemorated both endurance and renewal. Culture proved dynamic and responsive, reinforcing cohesion, continuity, and shared identity. The starless nights highlighted the importance of flexibility, creativity, and symbolic interpretation in sustaining human societies through adversity. Scientific achievement reached unprecedented heights. Observation, modeling, and collaboration advanced knowledge of celestial mechanics, environmental adaptation, and human perception. Instruments, simulations, and data collection refined understanding of both physical phenomena and societal responses. The crisis prompted innovation that extended beyond survival, influencing education, technology, and artistic practice. Humanity demonstrated that scientific inquiry, when integrated with cultural and emotional insight, can produce profound and lasting understanding. The experience also strengthened ecological awareness. Adaptive lighting, careful environmental observation, and sustainable practices minimized disruption to ecosystems. Humans learned that resilience and creativity must respect the natural world, highlighting interdependence and responsibility. Observation of animal behavior, plant cycles, and environmental cues reinforced the connection between human adaptation and ecological stewardship, leaving a lasting blueprint for sustainable coexistence with nature. Philosophical reflection deepened throughout the journey. Individuals and societies contemplated the nature of absence, presence, perception, and meaning. The starless nights prompted consideration of how humans construct understanding, interpret uncertainty, and create significance. Reflection became a practice intertwined with daily life, encouraging mindfulness, ethical awareness, and deeper appreciation for both the cosmos and human ingenuity. These philosophical insights will continue to inform thought, policy, and creative expression for generations. Hope and anticipation became enduring companions. The gradual return of stars symbolized the potential for renewal, emphasizing the value of patience, observation, and persistent effort. Communities celebrated the restored celestial guidance while retaining the rituals and insights cultivated during absence. Hope, once fragile and provisional, transformed into a durable aspect of human experience, a guiding force for both personal growth and collective endeavor. The lasting lessons extend to perception and cognition. Individuals became attuned to subtlety, capable of extracting information and meaning from sparse cues. Observation, reflection, and creative problem-solving became habitual, extending the benefits of the starless experience beyond immediate survival. Humans learned that insight is cultivated through engagement with challenge, and that the mind can illuminate even when external sources are diminished. The final reflection acknowledges the enduring interplay between human creativity and natural phenomena. The stars returned, shining brightly, but the illumination they inspired on Earth through art, technology, and social cohesion became equally significant. Humanity had learned to complement, replicate, and even enhance the natural brilliance of the cosmos through observation, invention, and reflection. This dual illumination, cosmic and human-made, symbolizes the lasting power of resilience, hope, and ingenuity. In conclusion, the story of the starless nights serves as a testament to the depth, adaptability, and brilliance of the human spirit. Individuals discovered resilience, creativity, psychological insight, and observational acuity. Communities demonstrated collaboration, cultural evolution, and collective problem-solving. Humanity at large advanced in science, philosophy, art, and ecological awareness. The stars' absence revealed the potential for growth, and their return illuminated both the sky and the enduring capacities of life on Earth. The journey through darkness with its challenges and triumphs, leaves a lasting legacy. Lessons from this period will continue to shape thought, behavior, and culture, reminding humanity that light, whether literal or metaphorical, is cultivated through courage, creativity, reflection, and connection. The night sky, once disrupted, now stands as a symbol not only of cosmic constancy, but of the enduring brilliance that resides within the human mind and heart. Ultimately, the final reflection is a celebration of human potential. The story illustrates that even in profound absence, meaning can be constructed, hope can flourish, and growth can occur. Through darkness, humanity learned to illuminate both the world and itself, transforming fear and uncertainty into insight, creativity, and enduring resilience. The lasting light of the stars, mirrored in human achievement, serves as a beacon for all future challenges, guiding the path of perception, imagination, and collective wisdom.